I'm Jeremiah Boucher, a commercial real estate investor with over 20 years experience. This show is designed to help you build your business, become a better real estate investor, and help you see opportunities that will keep you ahead of the competition. This is Finding Your Edge.
Yeah, one of the things that became pretty clear to us is wholesaling has kind of been drying up. Flips are getting a little bit more dicey with the buyer pool with now 7.5% interest rate. So those who have been, burring and then still looking to get into commercial or flipping and also, doing some commercial stuff, it's starting to get a little scary, especially if that's your full-time gig, right? So now I'm thinking, hey, maybe I need to pivot and, you kind of got to get dirty again, right? And being dirty again mean, maybe I got to get licensed so that I'm not spending all the money on my brokership or on broker fees where I can then go and get, hey, if I can't buy this, I can list it for you, Mr. Seller, right? So that's another thing that I think people probably should, hey, if you have a job right now and you're doing real estate, maybe don't quit your job and keep that. Don't maybe jump right in, especially with the market the way it is and the 10-year yield the way they are, unless, like you said, unless it's a clear value add and you can turn it around very quickly and you have a tenant in place, unless you don't have a value add play, it's an interest rate play. And if the interest rates the way they are, it is not a good play for us. And us is the majority of people.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, be patient. I don't think you want to, unload your ammo here, your bullets on a target quite yet. I don't think we've seen the wave of opportunities that are going to come. It's, stuff that are on the fringe that still have the fundamentals of being really good investments, but really aren't at a good cost basis, but they're not perfect. And they're not, obviously, we're not going to get stuff that's, just on a platter, a silver platter, and it's all buttoned down and everything's perfect. So we don't want to stretch too far. So I'm just being prudent, and, it's about leadership. It's about building in, the clarity around those priorities that we talked about in the beginning and being clear. I'm still a proponent of that traction program, just understanding, what is that core strategy that you're going to allocate your resources to. And then I think that focus makes me feel a lot more grounded, because even if there's a lot of chaos around me, if I know we're driving in good opportunities and we're making those good improvements and we're driving that rent, and, it's not, we're going to lose 20% of just inefficiency. People are going to make mistakes. We're going to, things are going to be disorganized. I mean, they're not major things on a legal or transactional side of things. It's more of just like you and I want. We want, the project built to perfection, acquired at perfection, the system to go acquire it to perfection. And that's not real. So I'm just trying to frame it and teach my leadership and my partners. It's like, let's look at what battles you really want to fight right now. And then what really matters, what's the war we're really trying to win. And we understand that now. We know exactly where we're trying to go as a team. So then it's easy to reframe everybody to stop getting so amped up about little issues and re-guide us back on this path to the thing that matters.
Yeah. So for you, I know macro is important, but does that, I've talked to people and there's so much doom and gloom right now, I feel like, with what's going on, and, with the banking and everything. Do you look at that at all? Or is that just going to take away your energy from focusing on the day-to-day? Or is it something that is important? I find myself staring at it and then I become frozen in my next move. And so I like to ask that question because I don't know necessarily if I'm supposed to, or if I need to just put my head down and keep working. I know the answer, but I like to hear it.
Well, no, I think there's a blend there, but I don't focus too much on the macro because, I'm not big of a company, but to a degree, we play the game of adapting to the macro environment. So what I'd say, Marty, is it is an interest rate game. So we got to understand that. And I'm getting better at just keeping up on the interest rates. But overall, consumer spending, what I do, I follow the REITs now. My macro is I'm very focused on self-storage, and that's, the path for the next 3 years for me. And how I see the big boys play the game is how I'm going to measure myself about how I'm playing the game, because the public market is the standard. And that gives me a lot of insight into the industry and in turn, the consumer spending pattern. And so for me I'm very narrow-minded around what I focus on, but it does give me a big picture of the asset class and the environment that I'm in. But I think you're right. It's a complete waste for me to focus on the geopolitical climate of Poland and, and Russia. And, and then the politics of, who's going to be elected the next president. I mean, I have my opinions on the side, but it doesn't really matter. What matters to me is the fundamental aspect of the business is, like what are the share prices? How much is revenue going up, expenses, NOI? It's the same thing. Where are the challenges in the industry? What are those trends over the macro where the consumer's not spending as much on storage? And why is that? But yet there is a high demand for storage, but the competitive environment means you have to offer more for less at this time.
I like that. I think that's very useful. Yes, you're looking at it, but more of you're looking at maybe the person that's ahead of you and following what they're saying or and you see what they're saying by if they're buying, if they're allocating still into the market, and they are. So that's always nice to see. So I think that's important. So whatever you're following, guys, or whatever it is that you're buying, whoever the leader is, maybe just focus on what they're doing and seeing what their strategy is, and then maybe follow that instead of, like you said, who the next president's going to be. That's just a waste of time. So that's important.
I'm not saying it is. I'm not following I'm not going to do exactly what that company's doing or how the market perceives what that industry should be doing. But I'm learning from what the market feedback is and what the macro metrics around of what's going on that is. Like apartments in New York, you can learn what the average apartment rent is and what the average apartment rental growth is. That's a helpful thing for you to know at mass, because that's going to help you dictate, do I need to be ready to soften up my rents for apartments? Because you're not going to be insulated, right? We are going to be affected by this. So it's something that we need to keep our eyes on. But at the end of the day, for me, it's about having your scorecards and measuring, that 1 to 3 different metrics in each department. So that way it's not like I'm blindsided after I'm doing my quarterly review, 2 months after the quarter ended, or you don't even wait till the year end. And then you're looking at your numbers and you're like, Jesus, my inputs, my costs in the company, I spent way too much money. Our revenue went down and, my debt is running out of time. So it's like, that's way too reactive. Business is a very, very fast game now, the speed of business. So we need to be able to adapt month by month. And for me, it's just trying to understand, how do I focus on all these different items or these different aspects of business when it comes to, the communication and the people that we decide for these roles, the strategy and the dictating, where we're going to go as a company to allocate that investor capital and our energy and time and attention. And then, you got the different departments with marketing and accounting and acquisitions and construction and operations. So these are those times that you brought up in the beginning that I'm going to look back and go, I don't have it figured out, but I'm trying to figure out, at the end of the day, I still do just write it down. That's all I know what to do, So I have to write it down and get it clear in my head. And I got papers and notes and different software programs and all these different things around me. And I'm trying to learn from the best of them. Like, how do these guys build and run companies? It's a process and it's fun, but it's challenging.
Well, I think that it makes sense that you are writing it down, because that is something you can control. You can't control but I can control writing it down and then trying to decipher from this, hey, I can control this part. I can't control that decision that person made, but I can control this of trying to understand and then where it goes next. So I think that's very useful.
And I can try to measure it.
Yeah,
you try to measure. Okay, I made a decision and I dictated it. And then, okay, now did what I wanted to occur. And that way I can try to measure that result. And then I can have feedback where it's not my narrow perspective or someone else is telling me a perspective. It's, do we achieve a result or not?
Yeah, it made me think, because I made a mistake today, and might as well just say it. But the mistake was we wanted to get a retrade from the seller, and it didn't occur to the most that we wanted. So we went to the agent to try to get from that. And that didn't occur either. So I work with another agent in the office, and I sent a lot of business to that agent. And I said, look, the broker's not working with me. I hate to have you as a casualty of this, but I don't want to do any more business with you guys. And, I think this was a couple weeks ago. We've gotten this all figured out, right? But that was probably a mistake. And that was probably a short-sighted thing. I don't think I should have done that, because it had no effect on that person. That person was not a part of any of those deals and that transactions. And that was just me getting a little hot. And, I wish I could have gone back and not done that, because now that's really hurt a relationship that I actually did like, and not one that I could care less, because I'm not going to work with the broker any longer. The broker has no dealing with this agent. So Yeah, I think it's important to, when you do make a decision, whatever it is, if it is a mistake, you'll let that person know it was a mistake. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, 100%. That's a challenge, right? When as you scale, you're going to have so many different things pulling at your attention, and you're going to have hot buttons because there's going to be things that are more important to you in different moments due to different goals and different things you're trying to achieve. And just the way that we're wired, we all have sensitive aspects of our personality, and especially when you're so invested in something, when you care so bad and you're fighting so hard to make something work, it's going to create emotion in you. And you do really got to be clear in your judgment, right? Because that is what the great athletes and business people and artists and performers, under the most strenuous pressure, right? Under the tight timelines, under the lights, and the preparation before you even get to those lights, you got to breathe and you got to see the situation as clearly as possible and from your perspective, with being manipulated by that moment. That's a very tough thing to do. And some people I think are more apt to more naturally under pressure. And I'm an expressive guy. And I think it's a challenge for anybody, but it just goes back to your mindset. That's probably why mindset's so popular. And there's so many masterminds and books and podcasts, because you can never get enough of it to really solidify and create that habit in your mind and your body, where you've got to repetitively ingrain it in who you are about what matters, what doesn't matter, what am I willing to give up, what am I fighting to gain. That's the fun part to me, actually. That's the part where, because at the end of the day, it's trite, but it's so true. We are 99% better than the whole entire world. Every single thing that we have so much wealth, so much abundance, so much health, so many opportunities. So we live in a fucking paradise. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if we reframe that and think to ourselves, the second I get too attached to some lifestyle or some status or some image or some success number, it really pulls me back when I see people that are in unfortunate situations, or people that live, in different environments globally. And, even just friends and family and people that are having health challenges. It's like, it's very hard, but it seems like this hypnosis comes over us in this world of success, and this, especially with social media and what we feed in our minds and what we think about what we need to have in our life. And these things are so unimportant. I mean, yes, you got to pay the bills, but, does it really matter if I get that deal after it's all said and done? After my grandparents passed away, it really reframed my mind about, they were here and then they're gone, and nothing significant happened in that process. It was life is here and then life is gone. So it's very clear to me that it doesn't matter. Yes, I'm going to get worked up. Yes, I feel that tension in my body. Yes, I can see, I do still react poorly to certain people because I want to get things done and I have a high standard. But at the end of the day, who am I being? How does this really play out over the entire scenario of my business and who I am as a leader? And what I notice is just doing the silly little sparring that I do and going to some of these gyms that I go to with these fighters is things move so fucking fast in real life when you're fighting. And when you can sit there and breathe and watch things happen, and I'm not good at it, so I don't know how to do this that well, but it's with anything. It's teaching me a lesson where that breath and that presence and that in your body and who you are in your mind and that pressure is so powerful, because you start seeing things that you never saw before because you were clouded by chemicals in your mind, the fear, right? The fear of loss, the fear of getting everything, just the fear of not understanding or knowing. So I think anytime, what I want to translate is not that I want to be a fighter or anything, but it's anytime you can put yourself in a really challenging situation, and not only, even if you make a fool of yourself or you pull it off, it doesn't matter. The lesson I think that you can learn as a leader and anyone as an individual is, how did I respond in that situation? And was I able to just stop for a minute and actually dictate what I'm doing or observe the situation and adapt, rather than just being in this hypnosis of reacting and being in my head and being in fear? And that's, to me, that's what meditation is. That's what everyone's trying to achieve with flow state. And that's where I want to get myself more and more often so I can be the best leader I can be.
We're going to end it there, folks, because that is literally probably the best 4 or 5 minutes you're going to hear on the podcast, honestly. that was it. I think that is all you really, if you can go back and listen to that, basically what Jeremiah said, eloquent and fucking perfect, is years and years of brainwashing of mindset and breathing. And when people talk about doing meditation, and when people talk about mindset, and when people talk about just constantly personal development, that is what trying to do. Those last couple minutes there is when something is happening to you, you're in control of your reaction. Even though you want to do something, seeing it 2 steps ahead if you did it or if you didn't do it and what that would do. And if you just breathe instead, how much more powerful you can be in that reaction. I think that was perfect.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Let's
was
live
awesome. Let's live it. Anyways, that was the show. And last thing, Jeremiah, and this is what I'm going to take from this show, be grateful. Everything else is going to be fine. You're going to be okay. We're doing crazy stuff. That's business for you, baby. But be grateful. And then you take a step back, take a breath, move forward.
And now you got a little one watching you.
Exactly.
Because they're going to not take breaths if you don't take breaths.
And things are not taught. They're caught. They're not taught. They're caught. They're going to catch it. They're not going to, you can't teach these things. They're going to see it. So anyway, guys, that's the show. Jeremiah, thank you, my friend.
Hi, brother.
All right, guys, take care.
For more information on commercial real estate investing, go to patriotholdings.com. Thanks for listening to Finding Your Edge.